So today started out as the 6th day of my 7-day water fast, but unfortunately, it did not stay there. If you saw yesterday's episode for day 6, you will know that I was facing a decision that I needed to make about whether or not to continue the fast or not. I have a tendency toward hypoglycemic episodes, and I was kind of getting into a state where I thought we're getting kind of close to where it's not going to be okay. But if I'm honest, by the time I finished recording and editing day 6 video, I had pretty much decided I'm sticking with it. You know, I feel okay. There's not really a whole lot going on. Yesterday was the day that the ketones finally kicked in, a day late from what I was expecting. And I thought, no, I can do this another 2 days. And then I slept fairly well. And then I woke up this morning and immediately I knew something's not right. My insides were like jittery, like only on the inside. Like you wouldn't have been able to see it from the outside, but the insides were jittery and my heart was kind of like pounding a little heavier more than normal. Probably shouldn't have, but I did go ahead and take a shower. And then after I got dressed, I was just like, I have a place to sit in my closet on this little stool, and I'm like sitting there for like 15 minutes and I'm like, I have to get up. And so I finally got up and I came into the living room. This was probably, I think 7 o'clock this morning. And my mom looks at me and she's like, you don't look like you feel so good. And I was like, And all of the days this week where I really did not feel good, which was basically day 3 and day 4, I felt pretty bad. I was still able to sit, but this morning, hair wet and everything, I was like, forget this. And so I like lay down onto the couch, like kind of half lounging, propped up sort of. And I was just like, oh my gosh, something's not right. Something is very not right. And I even like looked over at this like poor basil plant that we have that really needed some water, and it was all droopy and kind of like, I'm like, I feel like that plant. So I decided at that point to just go ahead and take my blood sugar. And you can see that what ended up happening was my blood sugar was down to 43. And 43 is not good. Doesn't matter which scale you're using. Like you're okay 70 to 90 or you're okay 50 to 90, right? Doesn't matter what scale you're using. 43 is not okay. And now I did have a couple of moments where I knew that I had one moment that I knew that I had gotten down to 48 and I was like, yeah, that's really close to 50, and it wasn't awful. It wasn't great. Also this morning I did have tingly lips. They weren't as tingly as they were the other 2 times that I had like a couple of minutes of that happening. But I thought, I think this is it, folks. 43 blood sugar says, no bueno. You can't continue to fast. Now, I was probably already pushing it anyway. But I decided at that point to go ahead and just basically modify into drinking broth only. Now, I made this broth the other day. It's got red onion, mushrooms, garlic, ginger, rosemary, and thyme in it. And it's just those with water. I put it into the pan, I boiled it, and then I turned it down and I let it simmer for about an hour. And then once it was done, I put it over this nice big measuring cup that I have with a strainer, and I strained out the solids so that all that was left was the broth. So my first thought was, okay, let me try the broth and see what happens after I drink the broth. Well, it's been almost 6 days of water only, and let's see how this tastes. It's not bad. It's like soup without the salt, like a brothy soup without the salt. While I like the flavor, I'm missing the salt. I thought I was supposed to be able to detect salt more after a fast, but in this particular broth, maybe I just didn't use enough items that have a saltiness to them. So like maybe if I'd have thrown a celery in there, maybe it would be better. But it does leave a nice taste in your mouth. So I have about 9 ounces of this broth here. I'm gonna go ahead and drink this broth, wait about half an hour. I'm gonna take my blood sugar again and see where it's at. If my blood sugar doesn't resolve to at least the levels that they were over 50 the last few days, I may have to switch to juice. I was hoping to be able to just use the broth, which makes it a modified fast, which is, you still end up with a lot of the benefits of the fast. I mean, there's benefits from the fast anyway, even if you quit. But we'll see how it goes. I did go ahead and check my blood sugar again about a half an hour after I drank that 9 ounces of broth. And it did bring it up, but it only brought it up to 48. And so that was the moment that I decided today is no longer day 6 of my 7-day water fast that I really, really wanted to complete. It is now day 1 of refeeding. So over the next couple of hours, I drank a grand total of about 28 ounces of the broth. And after probably about 3 hours of drinking the broth, I checked my blood sugar again and it was up to 63. So I thought, okay, 63, this is decent. But the thing is with the broth, I was already horribly sick of water. I knew there was no chance I was going to be able to continue to drink the broth because you drink any one single thing for 2 days straight and you're going to be so over it. So I knew there was no chance I was going to be able to just continue with the broth. So, and since I had pretty much already made the decision that this is day 1 of refeeding, I thought, okay, so in a couple of hours, I will switch to juice. And so that is what I did. About 1 o'clock, maybe 1:30, I switched to juice and I recorded that one for you too. So it's been about 4 hours since I had to modify the fast with the broth that I made the other day. I've drank about 28 ounces of the broth and I have had a few swigs of water, but I will tell you they weren't as bad having the water today because I wasn't forcing myself to drink the water. I was thirsty. So now what I'm going to do is I don't even know if this is still considered a modification, but I'm going to officially break my fast. So when I was at work a couple months ago talking about the fact that I wanted to do a fast and that I needed to figure out how to afford a juicer to be able to break my fast, because I always knew that I was going to need to break it with juice, specifically with the juice I'll be making today. I was talking to a very supportive coworker and he said, I think my sister has a couple of juicers. I'll ask her if she's willing to give one to you. And I said, does she like cookies? I can make her some cookies. You know, I give her some cookies. He's like, no, she doesn't use the juicers anymore, but she's still trying to watch her weight. Okay, so no cookies, fine. I totally get it. So a couple weeks later, he brought me this juicer, which when he gave it to me, he said, I was surprised, she actually gave you the nicer of the two juicers. And I was like, that is so cool. So this is probably several years old, but it's a Jack LaLanne power juicer. And I've used juicers in the past. I used to have an Icon Breville Icon. And then I determined that, juice is probably not the best thing to be having. So I stopped making juices, and then I got rid of my Breville. And so that's why I was in need of a new juicer. Well, this one didn't cost me a penny. And I, gave it a good wash, and now I'm going to make my juice. So what I have here are some carrots, celery, and an apple. And I'm hoping I have a decent ratio to be able to have a good juice that is not so heavily super extra sweet. Now, I like carrot juice. I like apples. Not a huge fan of celery. I mean, I cook with celery all the time. It's totally a game changer when it comes to making soups and stews. In fact, to be honest with you, I did not love my broth. I love the potential of my broth, but the way that the recipe was only called for the ingredients that I put in it. And I just kept thinking the whole time, this is decent, but it just needs salt, just a little bit of salt. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to make more of this juice. I may actually decide to start my day this week with this juice because I can make it warm, put it in a cup, and it satisfies that morning coffee tea thing because you're starting the day with a nice warm cup of something. But I thought, I'm going to add some celery to my broth because celery is a little higher in salt than a lot of other vegetables. And Swiss chard, I hear, is the same thing, but I've never actually tried Swiss chard. So you know what? I need to go to Sprouts today. Maybe I'll get some. So let's see what happens here. This is a fairly quiet juicer. So that may not be too horribly loud, but hopefully I'll be able to adjust the audio on this to not be horrible while I do this. But first thing I'm going to do is cut up my apple. Because if you cut up your apple too soon, what you're going to find is that it turns all nice and brown and it doesn't take long. So I'm going to cut this up. Oops. My cutting skills are lacking today. You'd think I never work in the kitchen. Not true. So I'm just going to cut them up in decent slices and make sure that those seeds that I chopped through get taken out because I really don't want any additional cyanide in my juice. Thank you very much. By the way, my knife, it's a Wusthof, which is a really nice German steel brand. I've had it for probably 9 years. It's a Santoku knife. So in America, we use chef's knives, which are super straight and very pointy at the end and super flat on the bottom. The Santoku is a Japanese kitchen knife, so to speak. And it's a little bit rounded on the bottom, so you can actually rock it back and forth a little bit easier. And this is my preferred size. You can't even see the brand name on it anymore because it's all worn off. So let's see how this goes. I'm gonna start with the celery, then I'm gonna put the carrot, then I'm gonna put the apple. See? Not too bad. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's not good. It is not letting me, I don't know, should I have peeled the apple first? I wouldn't have thought so. Maybe I put too much in at a time. This was unexpected. Oh, there's that. Well, let's do a little bit at a time and see what happens here. Oh yeah, I overloaded it. Learning curve. Apparently I picked the right amount of ingredients to go in this because my cup is not overloaded. This is a ball jar. Interesting. This is a 12-ounce ball jar. And I have probably 11.5 ounces. I don't know where that works on my scale of how much juice I should be having right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix it up because I don't know how mixed up it was from it all going together on its own. And now we shall see if that celery ruins this for me. Not gonna lie, that's pretty tasty. Very happy with this choice, and I can definitely taste the celery. I can't say that I can completely identify the other flavors, but it's got a nice creamy texture, probably from the carrots. And it is sweet, but it's not really sweet, which I probably would think it was really, really sweet if I were to, if it were really too overly sweet, because I'm sure I'm more sensitive to salt and sweet now than I was, even though I couldn't really taste any salt in my broth. But that's probably because the items that go into the broth just did not have much in the way of salt in them. So I'm gonna say I'm very satisfied with this. I'm gonna drink it, I'm gonna wait a little bit, and I'm gonna take my blood sugar again and see where we're at. So there's actually gonna be, it was originally I was gonna do a 7-day fast. And so your refeeding period, which is vital. If you do not get the refeeding period right, you could have catastrophic repercussions from it medically. And it really is, except for maybe my super low blood sugar, under normal circumstances where somebody is able to do the fast for the full time, the refeeding period really is the most dangerous part of the process, because you can definitely cause a massive electrolyte imbalance, and there's all sorts of bad up unto death that can happen with it. So basically what my protocol is for the next 3 days, I'm going to do just 3 days because I did almost 6 days. So I'm going to half that. I'm going to do 3 days. Today is day 1 of refeeding. So I started out with the broth, which is not necessarily something you absolutely have to do, but you can do. So I started out with the broth, and then I switched to the juice. So all day today, I'm only having juices. And I bought some other items to make a different juice this evening that's a little bit, probably a better profile than what I did earlier, because from what I've done with my research is that your best ratio of veggies to fruits is 80% veggies, 20% fruits. But the one I did earlier was 60% veggies, 40% fruits. Not the end of the world. And truth be told, I did, as I said I would, I checked my blood sugar about an hour, maybe an hour and a half after I finished drinking that. Well, I shared it a little bit because I wanted everybody else to taste it. It was pretty good. I had about maybe 10 ounces of juice, and my blood sugar was at 109. So we're definitely headed in the right direction. After having something that was, fairly sweet, a blood sugar of 109 is actually pretty darn good. I didn't see a blood sugar spike like I thought I might. And so at least that makes me happy, knowing that maybe I was taking a chance using a little bit more sweet than was probably ideal. So after today, I will be doing 2 days of modified eating as well. The first day, I'm going to be making a soup I'll probably start off with peeled Yukon Gold potatoes. I was having a really hard time figuring out what kind of vegetables I should be using, because normally you would just use steamed vegetables. So I think I'll probably eat some steamed carrots and have some steamed Yukon Gold potatoes without the peel. Peeling it is an important part of this, because you don't want to overload your system with fiber right away. So I'll be doing those 2 things. And then for dinner, I'm planning on making a soup. And you kind of have to be careful about what things you put in it. But I'll probably share that tomorrow when I go to make the soup. You are supposed to stay away from legumes. You don't want to eat beans, basically, is what I think I understand. I always say what I think I understand, because maybe something's very clear in front of me and I misread it. But what I think I understand is on tomorrow, definitely don't want to be having beans, and you don't want to really have cruciferous. But to be honest with you, by the nighttime in my soup, I am going to go ahead and put some cabbage in it, but I'm going to blend everything up, so I'm hoping that makes a difference. But yeah, you kind of want to do these things in a kind of a specific order. Luckily, because I've only done the number of days that I did, it's probably a little bit more accommodating, and so I think I can get away with that little bit of cruciferous. Again, you just don't want to overload your system. But when I was thinking about steamed vegetables, at first my intent was to just have the same thing that I had last week to prepare for this fast, which was green beans, snap peas, and edamame. And it occurred to me when I was doing my more focused research yesterday, I was like, wait a minute. Those 3 things I just mentioned are all legumes. They're all legumes. So this is not going to work. So that's day 2. And then day 3, you can start to, and you can have fruit tomorrow too. So fruits and steamed vegetables, or in a soup. I mean, steamed or in a soup, you're not far off from where you need to be. And then day 3 will be reintroducing some raw vegetables as well, and more of the cruciferous. And then from there, you can pretty much start to go back to normal. Hopefully your normal is fruits and vegetables and whole grains and limited salt, limited oil, limited sweet like honey or syrup, that kind of stuff, or the fancy balsamics that I'm just waiting. Let's see, what day can I do that? To have another salad with a little bit of fancy mango habanero balsamic vinegar on top of it. So I am very looking forward to eating over the next 2 days. I will tell you, since I started drinking the broth, and especially after I started drinking the juice, I have cotton mouth. Now, I didn't have cotton mouth all week. It was a little on the dry side, but it wasn't like this you know what cottony is. It's just awful. And so I'm like, can we get to the point where that goes away? And I think I'm almost to the point where that little tiny feeling of almost nausea is going away. From the time I became nauseated on Tuesday night as I was sleeping into Wednesday morning, let's see, day 2 at night to day 3 in the morning, ever since I became really nauseated while I was sleeping, I have not fully gotten rid of the nauseous feeling. So hopefully we are on the mend on that one, because it seems like it's almost gone. And I'm really looking forward to that, because I pretty much, to some degree or another, not felt amazing for several days. So that is where we are at now. And tomorrow I will show you all the goodies that go along with refeeding on day 2, and maybe even actually share a little bit about the Bible study that I was kind of doing this week. I did not do it today, and share with you some of what I learned that actually relates to fasting, that fascinated me and actually made me cry. See you next time.